It's horrid in here. Didn't really help. That's creepy. That's Hello, I see people popping on. Thanks for joining tonight. As soon as I see your name pop up, I will do a shout out. We are getting started with still doing a little bit of work with shadow work, but we're talking about obesity and emotional triggers with that. Allie, thanks for joining. Hey! So I will, I'm going to get into underlying causes of obesity in general, and then we're going to hit on some of the emotional triggers and how that pertains to people. Mike, thanks for joining. I got all my fair families. Hey guys. Oh, I'm so happy to see you here. So I'm going to give, as usual, I'm going to give folks a few minutes to hop into the parlor with us, and then we will get started. While we're waiting on everyone else, what have you guys been up to? There's also a huge lag on what I get on my end, so I miss you too, Allie. I hope I get to see you guys at Halloween. Getting stuff together for that. That'll be fun. I don't know if you guys can hear them in the background. I've given my dogs peanut butter in their little Kong toys, and they're thoroughly enjoying them right now. While we're waiting on other folks to hop on with us, what would be some good topics, or what would be some topics that you would be interested in hearing about? What are some things that would be good information topics? And also, what's your beverage tonight? Alright, I'm going to give it about a minute more, and then we'll jump into our topic for tonight, for those of you just joining us, I'm still learning how to speak with my new tongue. And we're talking about the general causes or underlying causes of obesity, including emotional factors tonight. Before we get into that, I do want to do a little bit of housekeeping and just thank our sponsors, Rusted Leaf Tea Company, for the delicious tea. And have you guys head over to their Facebook page. They are Rusted Leaf Tea Company, and I believe there's ordering information there on their Facebook page. They have a great selection of blends of teas, not necessarily herbal medicinal teas, but good, fun time, relaxing, just taste good teas. And my favorite is the Fruit of the Vine, which is a jasmine tea. It's become one of my favorite evening teas, so check them out. Also, we have some new stuff up on YouTube, so if you've not already gone over, do go to YouTube and go to Dr. Danni Naturopath on YouTube. Click subscribe, like, share, hit the little bell so that you get notified every time we post a video. We are doing a subscription drive right now. The goal is to get to 500 by the end of the year, so let everybody know. Go check that out. We're going to be continuing to populate that with videos, not only replays of tea time, but some other informational videos as well. And then, of course, you can always go to our Teachable site if you want to get in and to get a little more in-depth on some of the stuff that we talk about. I have some herbology courses that are already up, deep diving into specific herbs on Teachable. I will put that link in the replay tonight after the show. So I'm gonna go ahead and just jump into it tonight, because obesity seems to be one of those things that is kind of at the core of nearly every chronic degenerative disease. One of the first things that MDs will recommend is that you lose weight. And it's also one of the biggest industries in the United States, weight loss in general. And that's because so many people struggle with it. The way that I approach weight loss is that I tell people I don't do a weight loss program. Instead, I want people to understand why they're holding on to excess weight. So from a physical standpoint, we need to do two things. One, we need to remember that nobody fits into any of those charts. Hey Sherry, thanks for joining. The medical charts, I am 5'2". I am in my 40s and I weigh 138 pounds. According to the medical charts, I am obese. And yet, I am not. So I want you guys to take that into account when we start looking at these charts, or if you get told that you fit into a specific category. The categories are based often, I think, in my opinion, on unrealistic weight expectations, much like nearly everything regarding our physical appearance is in our society. It's so easy for us to get caught up in these shoulds. So I should lose weight, or I should be this weight, or I should look that way. And the reality is no one fits into those charts. And a healthy weight is not determined by a small group of factors that go into creating these charts that are used at the medical offices or within the medical community. Instead, it's based on your body's specific need. So why would we hold on to excess weight? There are two reasons physically why we would hold on to excess weight, and they tend to work together, kind of creating a vicious cycle. The first is deficiency. If your body's deficient of any nutrient, we're going to hold on to energy in the only way that we know how. We're going to store it as fat. And then secondly, if we're toxic, if the body is unable to flush out or cleanse appropriately, those toxins that we are not able to get rid of get encapsulated in a fat molecule and kind of stored away with the fat as a buffer. And so in that, we create this cycle where we're deficient, so we can't get rid of the toxicity fast enough, so the toxicity gets stored away and then it builds up in the body, and then we're not absorbing well because we're toxic. And so we can't correct the deficiencies, and so we can't get rid of the toxicity, and it goes on and on and on until we break that cycle. In order to break that cycle, we have to find a couple of things. First, there are dietary things to consider. Often we're consuming foods that are completely nutritionally devoid and contain food preservatives, additives, excess sugars, dyes, and things like that that are also toxic for the body. So not only are we not giving the body the nutrients that it needs in order to not become deficient, we are also overwhelming the body with all these chemicals and preservatives and other contents of that food that don't have a nutritional value for us and do create toxicity. So avoiding excess sugars and adding lots of fresh fruits and vegetables into your diet. Also, plenty of water to make sure that you are able to flush things out. Come on, buddy. You want up here? We're going to get a visitor. Come on. There he goes. He goes. Come on. There's a Duke. There's a Duke. Okay. In addition to that, really paying attention to when you are consuming packaged, processed, fast foods, things like that. And minimize that. I don't ever expect anyone to do anything 100% because, well, I don't. So that's not how real life works. You know, in all honesty, when we're talking about food, we need to give ourselves some latitude and remember that food is social. And that social aspect of it is something that feeds our soul. We need that. So giving ourselves permission to not do it perfectly. In addition to the dietary changes, making sure that you're well hydrated, and then avoiding the things that create any kind of toxic buildup or leach nutrients out of the body, like caffeine or sugar. You want to look at the emotional side of it. And this is something that we often don't do. In that, you know, we assume that the weight loss is all about the physical aspects or what you're not doing or something's not functioning right in the body. There's another aspect of that. And that is that we will add weight onto our body as a cushion, as an emotional cushion, trying to protect ourselves from whatever emotional hurt or wounding that's happened and hasn't had time to heal. The reason that we develop certain habits throughout our life, particularly around food, there is a reason why comfort food is called comfort food. It gives us that serotonin hit. And the reason that we develop habits around that have everything to do with how we are trying to help ourselves feel. So we'll develop habits such as binge eating or going for carbs and sugars when we're stressed out or emotionally overwhelmed, because those give us the type of serotonin hit or comfort that we need to deal with those emotions. But we're not actually dealing with the emotions. We're band-aiding it. We're covering it up. And that's the part in just about every healing process that gets overlooked, is the emotional side of that. What I'm finding in my practice more often than not is that when we address the emotional factors involved in any kind of physical manifestation or physical symptomology, we're actually getting faster healing results overall, which meaning that when the emotional side is addressed and given space to heal, the physical and mental side follow suit in a much faster pace. So I'm going to give you a couple of things today that you can do to really look at that emotional side of it and consider what are your triggers? If you're struggling with weight loss or you've struggled with weight your entire life, what are some of the emotional aspects of that that have not been addressed that are holding you back from reaching your goals? The first is journaling. Journaling is a way to kind of brain dump and get all of the junk out of your head and into a space where it's not feeling encumbered or restricted in any way. And when I recommend for people to journal, what I tell them to do is to simply sit down and write for 5 minutes. Set a timer and just write whatever comes up. Don't censor, don't edit. Don't worry about it creating a logical story or any kind of specific timeline or any kind of anything that makes sense. Just brain dump. Just whatever comes up for you, get it down on paper. This gives that space and allows you to honor it as it comes up. When I say honor, I'm talking about just simply acknowledging without judgment. We're really good at judging ourselves. We're really good at shitting on ourselves. Oh no, I shouldn't feel that way. No, I should have done this. Oh, well, I shouldn't do it like that. I shouldn't do this. I should do that. And what I find with the journaling is that this allows us a space where we can just acknowledge and honor whatever is coming up without judging ourselves, without using those shoulds to invalidate what we're feeling. The next thing that you can do is meditation. There are a lot of sound therapies out there, and YouTube has some really great meditations that are just like binaural beats or Tibetan singing bowls and chimes, that it's just music. It's just, there's no lyrics, there's no singing, it's just the music. And the vibration of that music helps to reset our internal rhythms and to work through emotional things. The hardest thing that I have seen people deal with in this aspect of it, the emotional side of it, is really getting into a space where they can feel what they need to feel without being overwhelmed. So journaling and meditating allow those things to come up for you in a way that is not necessarily overwhelming for you, but kind of piecemeal comes through, where what's really important comes to the consciousness, and that's, you write that down, and then your subconscious will help walk you through that. The other thing that I highly recommend, and I think this is important for anyone who wants to be really well balanced mentally, physically, and emotionally, is that we need a social environment that is conducive to our emotional health. We need to be surrounded by people who will hear our story without trying to fix it for us, or without trying to tell us that it's not okay for us to feel that way, or that we should be grateful for what we have. Not that some of those things are not important. I think gratitude is extremely important. However, we're often taught, oh, well, you just need to be grateful, and ignore the stuff that's not so pleasant. And that's where we get hung up. The reduction in, you brought both of them up, good job, buddy. The reduction in the ability to process emotional things often happens because we get stuck in trying to be positive all the time. But emotional healing is not positive all the time. As a matter of fact, it can't be. It can't be, because the healing of that wound means that we have to get in and clean out that wound, which is a dirty, ugly process. And it doesn't feel good when you're in it. It doesn't begin to feel good until after it's healed. If it remains there festering, it causes other issues, and we continue to do the things that process within the habits or the coping mechanisms that we had in the beginning that brought us to that place where, okay, this is how I deal with food, or I'm putting on excess weight because this is how I'm dealing with my stress. So I want to encourage you guys to really take a close look at your social environment. I'm not saying dump all your friends. I'm saying simply be aware of who you're spending the most time with and how you feel when you're around those people. Are you noticing that when you leave that space, you are drained and just need to sleep? Oh, I just want a nap. I'm so exhausted after that. Or do you find that you're getting energy and recharge from being around those people? Are these people holding you accountable and not judging? And by that, I mean, don't be around yes men. It's really easy to be around people who tell us what we want to hear, but that doesn't help us grow or heal. Instead, it keeps us stuck where we're at, repeating the same cycles over and over again. So within your social environment, make sure that you are including people in that who are going to be able to kindly call you on your mess. To just say it like it is. And when you're not doing something that's serving your highest good, or when you're doing something that's obviously not serving your highest good, they're going to tell you, hey, this is not so good for you. Look at how you're being affected. And then be there for you in that process to help you find solutions and encourage you as you continue on that path. The biggest reason that I see people hold on to excess weight for emotional reasons is because the wounding that happened required them to create some kind of insulation or padding against the outside world to keep them alive, to help them survive. And when those coping mechanisms were no longer serving their highest good, they hadn't developed new coping mechanisms or defense mechanisms or ways to handle their stress or their environment. And so they keep repeating the same things over and over again, getting the same results. Hey, David, thanks for joining. And so as we're going through this, the thing that I want you guys to remember, particularly around shadow work and dealing with emotional triggers of any kind of symptom, is that the initial work means that the person has to be ready to deal with it. If the person is not ready, they're not going to do it, because emotional work is extremely painful. And unless we are ready to deal with that pain, we're going to pull away from it. It's just human nature. It's the leaning into the pain and allowing ourselves to process that and understand it and learn new ways to deal with it as we're healing that create the most impact. So, again, I'm going to just kind of recap here for you guys. Obviously, the dietary issues in dealing with excess weight are extremely important. If you're putting garbage into your body and you're not supporting it on a physical level, you're not going to have what you need, even as you're doing the emotional side of it, to get the results that you're looking for. And you need to be kind to yourself during that process. Give yourself permission to not do it perfectly. Give yourself permission to do it 80%. Maybe just change one habit at a time. and give yourself permission to go through that process. It takes at least 21 days to develop a new habit and 90 days for that habit to become subconscious. Okay, that's 21 days of consistently performing an action for it to become a habit, and 90 days for that action to become subconscious, where you do it without thinking. It takes 1 day to break it. And if you break it, remind yourself that it's a journey. There's something for you to learn from that. And get up and do it again the next day. You know, keep working on that habit. Dietarily, you want as much whole, fresh, raw fruits and vegetables as you can possibly get. 60% or more of your diet from that. And I know I keep harping on this, guys, but repetition means that you remember. So 60% or more of your diet from raw, fresh fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, legumes, and plant-based foods. 10% or less of your total diet from animal products, meat, fish, dairy, and eggs. Less than 10% of your total diet from grains. And very minimal amounts of refined sugars, junk foods, highly processed foods, foods with lots and lots of chemicals and preservatives and the like. Hydration. Stay hydrated. Your body can live without food far longer than it can live without water. If you're dehydrated, so much of the body begins to shut down or work subpar. So a minimum of half your current body weight in ounces. So a 150-pound person would need 75 ounces of water a day, bare minimum. For most of us, we're already dehydrated, so an additional 10 to 15% of that to help bring you back up to optimal hydration for a time is absolutely appropriate. Hydrate with spring or artesian waters because they're living waters. They still contain all of the natural minerals and vitamins that are scooped into the water via osmosis as the water runs over the land or through the volcanic rock. And then herbal teas that are naturally decaffeinated without any extra chemicals, and infused waters. So things like chopping a slice of lemon and dropping that into your water and letting it just sit in there and steep. Really any fruit or vegetable you could do that with. Teas technically are an infusion, but we'll classify them separately. And then on the emotional side, journaling, just doing a brain dump, 5 minutes a night, set a timer, sit and write for 5 minutes. If at the end of the 5 minutes you feel like continuing to write, do so. If not, that's okay too. Get into some meditation and pay attention to your social environment. Look at the people that you spend the most time with and determine whether or not they are serving your highest good. Are they helping you to reach your goals, or do you feel drained? Do you feel like you're not supported? Is it difficult for you to talk about really hard emotional things with the people that you spend the most time with? If that's the case, then consider rearranging who you're spending your time with. And then when you've done all of that, or if you've done all of that and you still feel like you are not getting the results that you would like to, getting professional help, get a coach, get a counselor, go to therapy. All of these things are excellent options, and I think they're very important, not only as a tool to help us heal on an emotional level and then to reverse the physical effects of those emotional woundings, but also to make us stronger. We've been taught for a very long time that asking for help for emotional stuff is a sign of weakness. And I think that it takes far more strength and bravery to ask for help when we need it than it does to sit in silence and suffer. All right, guys, so that's my topic for the day. All right, we're about 30 minutes in. So we have quite a bit of time. I want to remind everybody, for those of you who joined us a little later, we do have some new stuff up on YouTube. So head over to the YouTube channel at Dr. Danni Naturopath on YouTube and like, subscribe, share, click the little bell to get notified when we put up new content. Also, you can head over to Teachable if you are interested in learning more, particularly about any herbology. And we're doing our famous, if I can use that word, Nutrition 101 class. We'll be starting November 3rd. You can sign up right now if you head to Teachable. I'll drop the links after the show tonight. Hey Felicia, thanks for joining. You can click over there and sign up now for the nutrition class. It's 4 weeks long. We're gonna do a real deep dive into simplifying nutrition, talking about how to get the most balanced plate, understanding what all those crazy words mean: proteins, carbs, fats, calories, macronutrients, micronutrients. We're going to talk all about that, and I'm going to make it really easy for you to understand how to make a very healthy meal nice and easy. I'm going to have some bonus footage too. We did this workshop live a few years ago, and in that live workshop I actually did a cooking demo, so we'll have some of that for you guys as well in the class. Yeah, so that's on Teachable. Also, don't forget about our wonderful sponsors at Rusted Leaf Tea Company. You can find them on Facebook at Rusted Leaf Tea Company, and I believe there's ordering information on their Facebook page. So I'm going to open the floor to questions, anything on the topic for tonight, the emotional connection between obesity. Yeah, I have no idea what my topic is tonight, clearly. Emotional triggers for obesity. Or anything on naturopathic medicine, midwifery, anything you'd like to know. So I'm going to open the floor for questions. Please tell me what you want to know, guys. Hey, Todd, you snuck on here. Thanks for joining. All right, we've got a handful of people I haven't seen in a while. That's awesome, guys. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I don't know if you guys can see him, but my dog has decided to wedge himself behind me, between me and the pillow behind me in the chair, so that I have to sit forward. Hey Felicia, no worries. I know you're still working. And there will of course be the replay. So help yourself. Doug, Jess, hey, thanks for joining. No worries, Jess. We're actually right into the Q&A session, and I know we had quite a few people who joined us late, so if there was anything that you missed or you kind of came in the middle, you need clarification on, please reach out. Go ahead and throw that in the comments for questions. Yes, Felicia, my dog is being cute. He's such a peen. Not really. Not really. They're awesome. My dogs have been very snuggly this week. It's been hard to get anything done at home because they have been absolutely insistent upon mommy time. So that's been a fun week. Thanks, Jess. We will have the replay up on Facebook. I'm the last couple of shows, I haven't been able to download them off of Facebook. Like, I used to be able to save them, and they would save onto my phone, and then I could just port them over to YouTube, and now I can't do that. So I need to figure out how to get the footage off of Facebook so I can get the rest of these episodes over to YouTube. That's been part of my research this week. Felicia says she's currently using dandelion tincture and wants to know, is it okay to put the root and the leaves together? I'm going to sound like the used car salesman. It depends. Most of the time it's innocuous to use the roots and the leaves together. The real question is it appropriate? And why are you using it? So that might be a conversation for us to have a little bit later where we can get a little more in depth. Dandelion leaf is typically used for urinary support and bladder support, kidney support, whereas the roots are typically used for liver support, gallbladder support, and helping to cleanse out stones. And I'm sorry, that was David who said that, not Felicia. And thank you for that, David. So I guess the real question is, why are you using it, and then is it appropriate to combine the two for you? And if you want to share here, that's fine. That's great. I'm happy to answer it. If not, we can have a private conversation later. In 2 weeks, we're going to come back with our next episode, and I'm going to be talking about the specific nutrients for gastrointestinal health. So we'll be talking about not only the macronutrients like proteins, carbs, and fats, but also about specific micronutrients, vitamins and minerals, and things like that are important to good digestive health, things that you can use as natural probiotics. You know, what can you do to naturally help your body produce a good balance of gut flora as well as keeping it clean. And I think we've had a couple people join us. So we are currently, the floor is open for Q&A. Any questions about tonight's topic or naturopathy in general, herbology, midwifery, really anything. So go ahead and pop your questions into the comments and I will get to them. We'll answer them as quickly as we can. I want to thank you guys again for joining me on Thursdays, every other Thursday, as we do these topics and these shows. When you come on, please share or start a watch party. We get a lot more traction and more people watching the show. So that's really helpful. Also, do make sure that you like the airing, and when we post the replays, please like and share those as well, so that we can get this information to as many people who want it as we can. And I'm going to just go ahead. I know we got a relatively small group tonight, so I'm going to one more time put out a call for questions, and if we don't have any, we'll call it a night. But any questions that you have on the topic for tonight, or if you have questions on naturopathy, midwifery, or really any other natural topic. Okay, I think we'll call it a night. Again, thank you guys for joining me on Thursdays. I really appreciate the support for the show and you showing up each week or every other week as it is to listen to me babble on about natural stuff and my own thoughts and opinions on these topics. We will be continuing working through information on shadow work as it connects to other parts of healing. As well as getting into some specifics on maintaining or creating healthy internal environments. So thank you again, especially those of you who sent in topics of interest for me. And once again, I appreciate and am incredibly grateful for the support for the show that has come about since we started back in, was it March or April? Gosh, it seems like it's been forever, but it really hasn't. So until next time, remember, be kind to yourselves and be kind to each other. Have a good night.